Good evening, everybody. So, in order to respect people's time, I think we'll get started right now. It's important to respect everybody's time. That's a good thing. So, we always begin everything we do with the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. My friends, let us bless and praise the Lord, the fountain of all goodness. Blessed be God, now and forever. Amen. All that God has created and sustains, all the events He guides, and all human works that are good and have a good purpose, prompt those who believe to praise and bless the Lord with hearts and voices. He is the source and origin of every blessing. By this meeting, we proclaim our belief that all things work together for the good of those who fear and love God. We are sure that in all things we must seek the help of God, so that in complete reliance on His will, we may in Christ do everything for His glory. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. So just a little explanation of how I think we'll go tonight. I have a prepared statement to make, and then we'll take a little break, and we'll pass out cards and pencils, and then you can write down questions and concerns that you might have, and then we'll take 5 minutes or so to make sure that we don't have doubles of the questions, because sometimes people have the same question. And we'll try to get through as many questions as we can till 8 o'clock, and that'll be a hard stop at 8 o'clock, so that we can, meeting shouldn't be more than an hour, in my opinion. So that's kind of a rule that I've always followed. So, as long as everybody is understanding of that, we'll get started, and I'm just going to give myself a little bit more light. You know me, I usually do all these off the cuff, so writing something down to read was a little bit, it took me back a ways to the old days when I first started. I would write everything out. But anyway, I know that a lot of you are probably nervous about the meeting. Quite frankly, so am I. So the first thing I want to say is that I do not want, and nor does Father Mike, want to close parish. Any parish, and as of right now, there is no plan to close St. Linus Parish. However, there comes a time when we must do a lot of soul searching, research, and frankly a lot of praying. The situation that is our finances is like an injured person. There are wounds we can put a band-aid on, and there are ones we can't. The ones we can't might require bandages or gauze pads. They may require surgery, something I know quite a little bit about, unfortunately. This financial wound has been festering for some time now. In 7 fiscal years, we have only had a surplus once, and that was fiscal year 2017, if you want to take a look at that in your packet. That was before my time here. However, if you look at the income that year, it was also the best of this 7-year time period. Why? I don't know, but it was. Income is a part of the picture, and so are expenses. One bright spot on the income side of our ledger has been the grand annual, which is certainly a reflection, it's certainly reflected in the income number on the handout. So that's a really good thing. The grand annual has been very good. It's been helping us to have the money to even be where we're at, which is still pretty not good. So if we didn't have the grant annual, we'd be in a way worse position than we are now. And so thank God for that, and thank God for all of you who give to it and help us to maintain that. So then after that, one of the things that we look at, obviously, is expenses, right? So the largest expense of any operation will always be the human cost, the labor, followed by our capital costs in a close second. Unfortunately, we are looking at some major capital expenses while simultaneously looking at a deficit in our operating expenses. This is clearly an untenable situation. If you keep spending more than you take in, eventually you will run out of money and your savings will be gone. And we are getting close, very close to that situation right now. Cuts have been made over the years since Father McEwen and the staff got here, and unfortunately, or fortunately, there isn't anything left to cut. Our staff is small, but good and efficient. And I had a larger staff in Walpole, believe me, and I find this one to be more amenable to collaboration and certainly chipping in when their job description doesn't call for it. They all are very dedicated and care very much about all of you and your families. And so that staff is small, and we split it between two parishes. The solution to the problem is probably obvious to you as you sit there. We need more money. Now, how do we get it? Well, there are two main ways, of course. Those who come to Mass could be asked to give more, and/or we get more people to come to Mass. Both would be preferable. Currently, as you look out in the pews during both weekend Masses, there is plenty of room for more people. We are doing our best to cover everything that needs covering, but we are at our bandwidth when it comes to Mass right now. With 3 Masses at St. Patrick and 2 Masses here at St. Linus. The reality is, not until the current Masses are full could I, in good conscience, even think about adding another one. In a parish, we also always have the option, in the collaborative, we have the option of going between the 2 parishes, which is also a plus. And if you do that, if you have to, if the time works better for you on that one particular weekend, if you want to make sure that your money goes to St. Linus, which I'm sure you do, you can either use your regular envelopes, or you can just take an envelope and write St. Linus on it. We'll make sure that it gets put in the right spot. Let's see. Okay, yes. I plan to identify and gather with a small group of folks who have particular skills in finance and fundraising. I have not identified those people yet, but that is the plan. I do have some thoughts of my own on this front from past efforts I've had as fundraising, especially in Rentham when I was pastor at St. Mary's. When I got there, it was a $2 million debt to the diocese, and when I left there, we had cut it in half in 4 years. So it's possible to do. Raising money is not impossible, but it is a community-wide effort, and people must certainly buy into it if we're going to do that. When I was there, I was able to cut that debt. I was also able to raise the weekly giving, and it was not easy work. It was hard work, but people like yourselves who care about their parish community and want it to succeed They bought into the program, and they were able to give more when they could. You know, some people, their financial situations obviously don't allow that, but some people's financial situations do, and that's a good thing. And I don't know where everybody's financial situation is, so I certainly couldn't point my finger at anybody and say, oh, I know you can get more, you can get more. I can't do that. I wouldn't have any clue. So we need to work together. We are way past the bake sales idea. That is not going to help us at this point. So we have to be realistic, and we have to really think about how we can raise money, how we can ask for more from those who can give more. Or the reality is that the thing we don't want to happen, the closing of the parish, could happen. And that is a reality. It's not a reality that I want, and it's not a reality that you want, obviously. But it's going to take a huge effort for us to get past the point that we need to. I don't know. I don't know what went on in the past. I don't know how money was raised when Monsignor Gigi was here. I don't know, if there was fundraisers or if there was. I don't know that information. But what I do know now is, if you look at the handout that I gave you, you can see that the money situation is not very good, and we need to make it better. I can't even tell you what the capital cost would be for fiscal year 2022 yet. I have some ideas in my head what they might be, but we don't even have the money to do that. We need the parking lot to be fixed, obviously. We need to put lighting out there. There's lots of things we can do there. The Norton Center needs to be repiped for the heat. It is literally held together by, basically chewing on baling wire at this point. They've patched it so many times, they can't patch it anymore. And that's one of the reasons why we're not using it right now, because it's unreliable at this point. So, I don't have all the answers. I know that. And I'm looking for you guys and anybody else who has ideas, who has some thoughts, who wants to sit down with me. We can sit down one-on-one, we can sit down as a small group, whatever anybody wants to do. Because I want to make this work. I really, really want to make this work. More than you can imagine. It's important to me. And I know it's important to you. And so with that, I'm gonna stop. We can hand out the cards and the pencils and take some time, 5 to 10 minutes, and write down a question. Try to keep it to, 1 or 2 questions a person. Don't give me War and Peace, because I'm not sure I can get through all that. Because I want to try and get through as many questions as we can. Okay? All right, so we'll take a couple of minutes, and we'll start going through questions, okay? Thanks for paying attention to that talk. Now, some of the questions I was looking at them. I will tell you right now, I don't know. But what I will do, and what I was talking about with the staff, is I will go through those questions and I will answer them in the bulletin and on the webpage, and maybe even on Facebook, just so that the answers will get out there. Once I can tell you what the answer is. Certain number of technical questions, I just don't have the answers for you here at this point. Some of those are deep dive questions that I'd have to really sit down with the finance guy, it would take a little bit longer than it took to get this put together here. So I will try to do that and get those answers if I can. So, let's see. Now, this is kind of I think more of a statement, but I love St. Linus, but it is a building. If it saves our native Catholic community to close it and keep St. Patrick's open, should we do that? That's a question. Or are you talking about closing both churches? We are not talking about closing both churches. We're not even talking about closing this church unless we can't right the ship. So I just want to say, let's not think like that quite yet. If we have to think like that, we will. But if right now, we don't have to think like that. How much time can I give you? I don't know. I don't know what the time. At some point we will run out of money. We won't be able to do it. But I think if we start fundraising, if we start working at it, and we start collecting more money, that will extend our runway. So we need to get chopping on that, and I think I think the time will take care of itself if we can extend the runway a little bit. And the grand annual will of course help with that. Let's see. How much of the grand annual collection stays at St. Linus? All of it. The Catholic appeal is a different thing. That doesn't stay with us. That goes into Braintree, and that's what you individually give to that. The grand annual, which you give here, stays here. It always stays here. It's not going to go anywhere. So that's an important thing to know. What will it cost to replace the parking lot? Well, not this past summer. I think it was the summer of 2019. We had a contractor come in and take a look at it, and it was $200,000. Yeah, and that's not even with like putting lights in or anything like that. That's just ripping it up, doing what you have to do to, doing it right, so that it's an expensive proposition. And then as far as the memorial cemetery goes, I don't know what it's going to cost to fix that yet. I haven't asked the contractor, I haven't asked the plumber who takes care of it to give me a price on that yet, because I don't know, I just don't know how we're going to do it yet. So once I know that we can start working on that, we'll have a cost right out to you. How much would it help to raise CCD tuition? Well, every bit helps, right? But I have found over the course of 17 years in the priesthood that when you start to raise CCD tuition, religious ed tuition, people start to balk at it. They start to get like, I don't want to pay that. And so they, why, I don't know, but there seems to always be there's a reason people just don't like to do it. And I think ours is pretty reasonable, is it not? Yeah. And we can raise it, but it's not something it's not a profit center, if you will. It's not even a break-even center. So it never really is, but it's a responsibility that the parish has to have to its children. And so we want to make sure that we educate our children in the faith. And if it costs money, it costs money. And that's the way we've always looked at it. As far as I've looked at it, and I think Father Mike too. So this is a question, I don't know if I'll be able to answer it, but somebody questions the 2019 expenses. Let's see. All right, so the 2019 expenses, we had $364,664. Well, that's the number that I was given by the accountant. I don't know why he would lie to me or make it up. That he has no reason to. I can tell you what capital expenses were for that year. The church HVAC repairs, and there was furniture that was bought inside the rectory inside. that was $5,404. So it wasn't a lot for the capital expenses that year. Yeah. All right. I mean, if somebody knows something that I don't know, I'd be happy to hear that because
the church was closed. It was COVID. Nobody was here. It was closed. There were no masses. How can you say it was expensive when you don't have heating and you don't have...
You think we turned the heat off during that time?
Well, you don't have to put it up high.
No, but we still have to put it on.
Lighting is a big expense. You don't have any of that. So
Well, 2019 was not, that was not COVID. 2020 would have been COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, but the salaries don't stop, and and we did spray the church in 2020. Yeah, that I'm just saying there were expenses. Every year there's going to be expenses.
But not as much.
Well, if you know something that I don't know, please see me after.
I don't, but I don't see that there's any justification for this. It's just a number of numbers. He could have put out any number. We don't know what it is. There's no justification for any of these things.
So you think I'm lying to you?
No, I'm not.
You're accusing me of lying. That's what
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm saying I don't think these numbers are valid.
you don't think they're that then you're calling me a liar. That's what you're
No, I'm calling the guy who made up the numbers.
It's what are you saying? Sorry, but it is. Would you be willing to mention the situation at St. Linus Masses? Yes, I would. And maybe another grade annual to help the shortfall. That's certainly a possibility and certainly a good idea. Or whoever had that idea. Do we pay for the St. Linus and St. Patrick pay for the cemetery? No, the cemetery has its own expenses and own income, so it pays for itself, and we don't have to put money into that. You sell the plots, and then people buy the plots. It's pretty simple. So St. Linus doesn't pay anything to take care of the cemetery. Let's see. Okay. Some of these are good ideas. I mean, they're ideas. We can certainly take a look at them, and some of them are questions. Would sending a letter out that gave a simple explanation to people? Yes. Yeah, we can certainly look at that, and that's something we can do. So why are expenses so high when there is only one retired priest in residence? Well, he's there, it says part-time, but he lives here pretty much. I mean, this is his house, he lives here full-time. He does 2 days with his sister, but that's just 2 days a week. The church is only open for Mass 1 day a week and on Sundays, right? Well, like I said before, the price of salaries doesn't go away because the building isn't open, and the cost of putting on having heat and or cooling in that building doesn't go away. Those costs will always be there. We have people that work to clean the building, one person, and 2 people, and one's part-time, one's full-time, and one person, the one full-time guy is the one who's over here most of the time. So, he's doing a lot over here. And there was a question about the doors being painted, and he is working on that, and it's coming. It's something that I mention to him pretty much every week. So, stay tuned on the doors. They're going to be painted. I don't know. I hope so. There's extenuating circumstances of why I can't get into because of personnel issues. But just suffice to say, there was a delay, and he's getting on it. All right. This question has to do with when the masses are. So we have the 5 o'clock mass on Sunday and the 9 o'clock mass on Sunday, and this person wants to know about the 4 o'clock mass on Saturday, which we don't have anymore. That was a decision that we made during COVID, when we were trying to decide how we were going to open up and what the mass times were going to be. The priests got together and talked about it, and we all came to the conclusion that there was, there was a small amount of people coming to that 4 o'clock mass, somewhere between 50 and 70 people a week, which isn't quite a lot. Now, you can say to me, well, the 5 o'clock mass and have 70 people, you'd be right, but it just started. So I think hopefully that will grow. People can get accustomed to it and maybe want to go to it. But we also have the 9 o'clock mass. We also have the opportunity for the other masses at the other church, where you can, like I said earlier, just write St. Linus on an envelope, place it in the basket, and we'll make sure that it gets placed in the right place, go into the St. Linus money. I hope you would trust us on that. Can I tell you what the 2020 capital expenses are? Yes, I can. That was the boiler for the Norton Center. That boiler had to be fixed. Yeah, that was a big one. And was there? Yeah. Okay. So the boiler was fixed. No one's asked me about the big one in 2015. $200 and some odd thousand, and no one's asked a question about that. Did you want to know what that is? Well, the audio system here in the church, the telephone system in the rectory, HVAC, rectory furniture, classroom partitions downstairs, the satellite, the Cat 5 cable installed probably in the rectory and in the church, so we could have the internet, the church heating system, which was $108,000 for the church heating system. That's quite an expense, and it needed to be done. So that was 2015. Now, this 2015, I think, would have been the first fiscal year for the collaborative. So these numbers are the collaborative numbers, okay? Going forward. Now, like I said, 2017, I don't know why, but somehow or another, you guys all gave almost $400,000, and the expenses were only about $350. So that was pretty good, and there was only about $8,500 in capital improvements that year, which was service master for water damage. I'm not sure where that was. It just says service master for water damage. I don't know if that was the church or the rectory. Let's see. So that was a great year, and I'd love to know what the difference was between 15 and 16, which had major, well, it's just 15 I throw out the window because that was a big capital expense year, and those things had to be done. But the next year, the capital expenses went down, and the income was low. It was higher than the previous year, but not as high as 2017, which then went down in 2018, which went down in 2019, and which went down in 2020, or actually went up in 2020, and then 2021 we got 2021 was the PPP year. We got I think it was $31,800 from the government that year, and we got that as a loan, but then because we used it to pay salaries and everything else that they told us we could use it for, we didn't have to pay that back. So that was nice.
Is that what PPP stands for?
Yeah, whatever the government,
Program.
yeah, payroll protection program, I think it's called. So, yeah, all right. Can we have an annual financial reporting going forward? Yes, I think that's a fair question, and I think, sure, I think we should try to do that. And I think that's an important thing that we need to do. You know, my situation here is that of administrator. I am not the pastor, but I work closely with him. Sometimes, some days are better than others for his help, and so I would say not a lot of stuff some of that stuff may have fallen through the cracks, and I'm sure it's something that he wants to do and has wanted to do, but that's something I think we can do going forward.
Isn't it a law that they have to do that?
Law for what?
I mean,
Which law?
I don't know, I mean, I would think that there has to be some sort of accounting that has to be given out every year.
I don't think it's the law, but it is certainly something that we are encouraged to
This is
do.
the first parish I belong to that they don't do that on a yearly basis.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe someone who's been here a long time can tell me, did they do that before? Yeah, it was like every year there was a financial. I have not seen those, so I would like to see that. That would be very helpful. Can we set an ambitious grand annual? You can set any number you want, actually. So we can be as ambitious as we want. Can we have a capital campaign? Yes. Yes, we can. And can I itemize expenses? I mean, I can't nail it down to to a roll of toilet paper, but there might be a way of getting, like a household expense number or something like that. But I think that would be more of a financial statement. So that kind of goes hand in hand with that. I think that's something that we can certainly work on for the coming fiscal year. Let's see. That's one of the doors. Sorry. All right. We're working on it. Why did the weekly expenses drop so much from 2015 to 2016? Yeah, they dropped about 10,000. I don't know. That could be 10,000. It could be anything. Let's see. In staff salaries, there is a percentage that's used on some staff salaries, but basically, the priests, I think each parish pays for 1.5 priests. So, St. Linus pays for 1.5 priests, and St. Patrick pays for 1.5 priests. The other salaries, I'm not sure exactly how that is figured percentage-wise, but my guess would be, and I can find out what that number is, but my guess would be that St. Patrick would pay more because they're bigger and they have more kids, like say for religious ed or something like that. So that would be my guess. But as far as clergy goes, it's 1.5 for each place, and the archdiocese pays Leroy. He's retired, but I'd like to say something about that too, because I think it's important to note that Father Leroy helps out with a lot, and he's going to be 86 this month. So, and he does a lot to help us out, and I would, not want to begrudge him his home. I think, that house is going to have expenses. He eats some meals there. I'm sure he eats, breakfast and lunch at least there. Will has his office there, and so there's the building is in use. It's not just sitting empty. So it's important to remember that. he's here, he's retired, and he does a lot for us, and we give him, you know, the house to live in, which I think is a fair trade. You know, because if one of us does want to go on vacation, now I haven't been on, obviously with COVID, I haven't been on vacation in almost 2 years, so, but if I were to go on vacation, you know, he has stepped, in the past, he's stepped up and covered masses or covered baptisms, you know, that's good, and he's a great guy, so, you know.
Love Father Leroy.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, well, it doesn't necessarily sound like that, but it sounds like there might be some issue there. I just want to make sure that we all know he's a good guy, he helps us out, this is his house, and where he lives in retirement. He's been a priest for over 50 years. I think we owe it to him.
I think the parish would be very upset if they let him go from here.
As far as I'm concerned, he's not going anywhere.
I'm saying, even if he
Yeah.
has not.
He's staying. So, I mean, he's staying until he can't stay, like the rest of us, you know. You know, we're not, none of us is getting any younger, as they say. Let's see, is there any possibility of selling off a budding property in the woods around the parking lot? I'm not sure, because I'm not sure how much of that is ours and how much, like on this side, I know we have the power lines, and I see them taking care of a lot of the trimming and stuff on that, something they have in the past anyway. I don't know how much we own on that side, and I'm not sure how far back it goes, and if it doesn't go back far enough, then there really wouldn't be any point in selling it at this point, you know. And I don't think you'd be selling around your parking lot. Like, I'm not sure how that would work, but you know, hey, it's an idea that somebody threw out. I think that's good. Throw the ideas out. If it was possible, I think we could try it, but I don't think it really is at this point. That would be, because there could be wetlands back there for all I know. I mean, maybe you guys know better than I do. I don't know if there is or there isn't. I know there's woodland creatures. So, you know, about 5 more minutes, and if, like I said, if I haven't answered the question, I'll answer it, you know, in written form, and so you'll get an answer to the question. Can you investigate how other parish expenses are met? Yes, we can certainly take a look at that. And how do we increase worshipers? If I knew that, I'd do it. We need to figure that out. I think, you know, for some of you guys that have been here a long time, you know, as I know, that sometimes people leave. And they leave for their own personal reasons. Maybe they left at the beginning of the collaborative because they didn't like the idea of a collaborative. I don't know. That's a possibility. So maybe if you know somebody that did that, maybe give them a call. Have a conversation with them. You know, tell them that, you know, we need them back, that we want them to come back, and that they, you know, that would be a good thing, right? I mean, if they came back. I don't know how many people that would be, and I know we did lose some people to you know, they've gone to God. That's unavoidable. That I cannot stop. I answered this one, that's the PPP question. This is kind of more of a statement of ideas. So like people who have extra money could start pledging more money, and generosity is important, and I agree with that. Everyone should pledge even if they aren't wealthy. Very good answer to that question. I agree with that. And yeah, that's great. Thank you. What happened to the money from the sale of the school? Well, it's a good question. The sale of the school was the St. Patrick school. So that money some of it is still sitting in St. Patrick's bank account. There's still projects that need to be done, and some of those money has been spent, as you might have noticed if you've gone over there, on the different things. We put the lifting. There's been other work done in there, lots of work, because he had the money to do that work through the sale of the school property. Each parish is a separate person in canon law. So if they have a school and they sell it, that money stays with that particular entity. It has to by church law. You cannot mix and mingle the money of one parish with another. You can't do that. I'm not even sure you would own one. I'm not sure you could do that. I think they might frown on that. But that's a good question. I wonder if we could do that. But I don't know. At any rate, the church that has the money, whatever their money is, that's their money. That would be like if St. Linus had a lot of money and St. Patrick was going down. Would we be able to give them the money from here? We wouldn't. We wouldn't. Our hands would be tied by church law. So, that's just a matter of fairness, right? They built that school way back, and it's always been a part of their patrimony. They sold it, so the money went to them, and they did what they did with it. They fixed up the church. They fixed up the rectory. The rectory was falling apart. You could see on the third floor, on which I live, you could literally see out the wall. Breezes would come in, it had to be fixed. There was lots of stuff that was not fixed and had to be fixed. So, I would say it's a nice house, as is this a nice house. I think they're just as nice as your houses, and I think that's a good thing, and no one wants to live in a dump. I don't want to live in a dump, and I'm sure you don't. So it's good when you have the ability to fix something. You should, and it should be kept up. It should be kept up so that we don't have big expenses down the road that we pass on to someone else. So we have to be careful of that. We have to be able to take care of the expenses now so that we can pass a solid, fixed up, in shape building to the next generation. And I think that's important that we do that, especially, because we want to stay open, and I want you to stay open. So, I answered that one. Sorry, it fell out of the rest of the path. Well, it is 8 o'clock, and I said I would stop at 8 o'clock. Just want to say thank you for coming today. I appreciate, coming out on an evening during the middle of the week. I appreciate the questions. I have some ones I didn't get to. I have them back, and I will answer those questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll do my best to find the answer.
Excuse me, Father, I just have one question, because I had a number of phone calls with people that are over that couldn't come.
Mm-hmm.
2 questions they asked me, which I put in the file. Do we have a parish council for traveling? And also, do we have a parish finance?
Right now, we don't. Okay? I could have answered that with both of them. We also have recorded it. We've recorded this. We're going to put the recording up as well. So if somebody couldn't come for whatever reason, they will be able to have an opportunity to watch it. So why don't we close with prayer as we always do. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time we've gathered together, for the questions asked, and for the care and concern that we all have for St. Linus Parish. I hope and I pray that we can, going forward, do well by this parish and hand it off to a new generation in shape, financially and physically. I also ask that we pray for our pastor for his health and for him to get better, or at least for him to feel good. And that would be a great prayer for all of us. We ask all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you all.